Production and broadcast costs for Sedgwick County Commission meetings have been underwritten by Sedgwick County. KPTS welcomes comments from the public on its broadcast of the County Commission hearings. Viewers are invited to write to County Commission Broadcast, KPTS, 320 West 21st Street, Wichita, Kansas, 67203.
Good morning. I'm Christy Zukovich. Welcome to the January 7th Sedgwick County Commission meeting. We are glad you're joining us today, and of course, we use this time to let you know about activities going on around Sedgwick County. And Commissioners, there are a bunch of events that will be held at Intrust Bank Arena over the next few weeks. I think they hit your pieces of entertainment. For some of you, we do have Thunder Hockey January 10th and 11th. We have Cirque du Soleil January 14th through the 18th. We have Monster Jam the 23rd and the 24th. The Harlem Globetrotters January 31st. And then we have Sesame Street Let's Dance. That was for you, Commissioner Norton, on February 6th through the 8th. So just a little reminder, we do have other activities and our other cultural and entertainment venues on our website, the Zoo and Exploration Place. You can find out their events calendar as well by visiting our website. We would remind you that Christmas tree recycling is taking place around Sedgwick County. You can find the whole list of the drop-off sites on our website at sedgwickcounty.org, and they are available through January 12th. So if you have your tree still sitting around, good chance for you to find a free place to drop it off there. So, Commissioners, I have asked Scott Hadley, our EMS Director, to come up here with us this morning because, you know, we got a little bit chilly outside today, or a lot chilly. And so I've asked Scott if he would come up and tell us maybe some tips our employees that are working on the ambulances are doing, what they're doing to stay warm, and what some of our citizens can do. So, Scott?
Good morning, Commissioners. It is barely cold this morning, as you've realized, with the wind chills and the actual temperature. Can certainly increase the risk for those cold-related emergencies. And certainly our folks are exposed to that as well, and other first responders, and those folks are layering and wearing the appropriate level of clothing out there to keep and limit the exposure to the cold temperatures. Also staying inside and not being out in it, limit your exposure if you can. Check on your elderly neighbors and those that are young or more predisposed to those cold-related emergencies. Certainly if you're traveling, if you have to travel, to bring blankets, to bring water, to plan your route, have your cell phone charged, and let the party that you're going to know when you're coming and the route you're taking, especially with the ice and stuff that's still on the road. It's going to be around here for quite a while, according to the latest forecast. So even sliding off the road, even in the city, it may be a while for help gets there sometimes. So you want to prepare yourself for that. Not leave your car running with pets or children inside this time of year. Not only the risk of the car being stolen with someone in it, but it also increased the health hazard there with carbon monoxide poisoning. And we know a lot of folks turn to other alternate means of heating their home sometimes because they don't have the resources. So if they're doing that, it also not only increases the risk for a fire, but it also increases the health hazard there in the home for carbon monoxide poisoning. So we want folks to be safe, to be mindful of those cold temperatures, even though it may be just a brief time they're out there, but certainly limit their exposure with the wind chills like that. And if you're going out to support the Shockers tonight, and those that will have folks out there to make sure you're dressed appropriately, waiting in line and stuff out there tonight, so we want people to be safe.
All right, very good. Thanks, Scott.
You bet.
So what I think he said was, don't wear your Hawaiian shirt today.
Yes.
All right. Well, Commissioners, you know, it's a great meeting for us. It's our first meeting, but it's a short meeting because today we're going to be saying goodbye to our 5th District Commissioner, Jim Skelton, and so I couldn't let this meeting go by without us having a quiz.
Well, I'm glad you're only going to say goodbye.
And Commissioner Skelton, you don't the pressure is not on you. There is no need for you to answer the quiz today. You just get to sit back and watch.
Well, that's
Okay?
first.
All right.
Thank you.
And of course, we're going to start with Commissioner Peterjohn. You're going to be our first guy up. So I found this picture. I thought it just kind of like set us off right. But this is for Jim Bob. And if you were to guess Jim Bob's favorite movie as a child, what would it be? Old Yeller, 101 Dalmatians, The Aristocats, or Bambi? And I'm going to give you a hint to help you decide and decipher and determine the right answers here.
Well, knowing Jim Bob's enjoyment of the great outdoors,
Thank you.
I mean, all of those movies have outdoor aspects, but it's got to be Bambi.
He's
Answer
right.
D.
I got to give it to him.
We knew that, so, all right. Commissioner Norton, are you ready? Okay. If Jim Bob could spend his weekends and vacations anywhere he wanted, it would be the beach, hiking in the mountains, shopping in New York City, or at his cabin.
Well, if he does what Stacy wants to do, it'll be probably shopping in New York. Boy, that's tough. Don't I get a clue on determining, and deciphering?
Deciphering.
County, Woodson
It's a
County.
delightful answer.
Close
It's a
to Toronto
delightful
Lake,
place.
I would say. Is there a beach at Toronto Lake?
Yes, sir.
Wow, so that it could be the beach or at his cabin. I'd say at his cabin.
It is.
He's right.
We know he likes to be at his cabin, and we've heard a lot about
Wow,
that. So.
it's 2 for 2.
2 for 2. They know you, don't they? All right, we're going to jump the chairman. Commissioner Ransall, we're coming to you.
Okay.
If you looked in Jim Bob's freezer, you would find deer steaks, deer hamburgers, deer summer sausage, or all of the above.
Well, I went hunting last weekend and couldn't find any deer anywhere, so it all must be in his freezer. I'll say D, all of the above.
All of the above.
He's actually correct.
We know that.
Richard, good job.
We know that.
Don't move on yet, because I've compiled a longer list.
Really?
You'd find deer steaks, deer burgers, deer roast, deer kebabs, deer stew, deer sausage mild, deer sausage hot, deer riblets, deer chili, deer nuggets, deer jerky, deer chutney, deer pate, deer scampi, deer and tater soup, deer meatballs, and 1 package of turkey gizzards. And that is all you'd find.
I got Tim, deer tacos and deer enchiladas. Okay, sorry,
Thought I had
almost.
the definitive
You were
list
so
of what
close.
was in
But you
this
did
freezer.
very well. I'm
So close.
impressed.
All right. And now we're going to wrap it up. Chairman, if you could bring it home for us.
All right.
What I'll miss most about Jim Bob is his quiet manner of speaking, watching him drink a whole pot of coffee, hearing him make turkey gobbler sounds in the fall back in the hallway, or knowing that he wants the best for his constituents in Sedgwick County.
Well, I have heard him and saw him and experienced him doing A, B, and C, but I also know where his heart is, and that's number D, knowing that he wants the best for his constituents in Sedgwick County.
You bet.
Thank you.
But
He's right.
we do know that, but we will sure miss that gobbler sound too. So, well, Commissioners, we have important business to take care of, but we did want to send our Jim Bob out in style. We will miss him. And Chairman Unruh, I bet you can get the meeting underway for us now.
Christy, we do have some business to take care of, so we will get our meeting under order, and want to welcome everyone who's here in our meeting today and those who are watching by way of television. At this time, I will call to order the regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners, January 7th, 2015. Madam Clerk, first item.
Invocation to be observed by a moment of silence. Please remain standing for the flag salute.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item, please.
Roll call. Commissioner Peterjohn?
Present.
Commissioner Ransaw?
Present.
Commissioner Skelton?
Good morning.
Commissioner Norton?
Present.
Chairman Unruh.
Present. And next item.
Item A, Planning Department, zone change from SF20 single-family residential to LC limited commercial and the creation of the Socorro West Commercial Community Unit Plan DP 335 on property generally located at the northeast corner of West 21st Street North and North Forest View Street, District 3.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm John Schlegel with the Metropolitan Area Planning Department, here to present this case to you. This request is for zoning change for the property that's outlined on the graphic before you now. It's a 7.5 acre parcel, currently zoned SF20. They are requesting limited commercial zoning and the creation of a commercial community unit plan for this property. The types of uses that would be allowed on this property, if you grant this request, would be those that are allowed in the limited commercial district, with the exclusion of a number of types of businesses that normally get excluded from community unit plans, such as sexually oriented businesses, nightclubs, taverns, and other uses of that type. The property is currently vacant. Although there is a vacant church up there in the northwest corner of the property, and you can see the types of land uses surrounding the property on the aerial photo that I've put up before you now. Immediately to the west of the property, across Forest View Street, is a line of single-family residences. Immediately to the south is a medical office complex. And then other properties around it are vacant and farmed. Going back to the zoning map, excuse me, you can see the surrounding zoning classifications, primarily SF20, which is the kind of pinkish color on the graphic before you. Immediately to the east of this property, there's a small parcel that's zoned for neighborhood office. The green colored zoning district to the south is general office. And then the white areas are in the city of Wichita, classified as SF5 single-family residential. And you can see there's some limited commercial zoning in red. The large parcel off to the east, that's limited commercial, is the Northwest YMCA. This item was heard by the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission at a public hearing that was held on November 20th. At that meeting, there was one speaker who spoke on behalf of the property owner to the immediate north of this property. Their request was to prohibit any sit-down or fast food restaurants from being allowed on the property as part of the community unit plan. The applicant, in discussing this at the Planning Commission public hearing, did agree to a prohibition on restaurants within 200 feet of this site's north and west property lines, and that seemed to be agreeable to the adjoining property owner. So with that, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the limited commercial zoning and the commercial community unit plan, with that provision in that no sit-down or fast food restaurants would be permitted within 200 feet of the north or west property lines. We have not received any protests or other appeals on this action by the Planning Commission, and so the recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission, approve the zone change and the community unit plan as spelled out in the agenda backup. I'll be glad to stand for any questions.
All right, thank you, John. We do have a comment from Commissioner Skelton.
John, is there a drainage plan for this CUP? Is there a detention pond going to be built?
No doubt that there would have to be, when they go through the plating process for this property, they would, as they move toward developing it and pulling building permits, and they would have to work out the drainage for the site.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Peter John.
Thank you. Since this property, from the map you showed us, John, indicated the city of Wichita is to the west of this location, to the east of this location, and I know for a fact also to the south of this location, although that does not show up directly on this map. This would certainly be well within the city of Wichita's 3-mile planning area. Could you kind of walk through how this proposal interacts with the city of Wichita, obviously being close by, and that this might be subject to annexation in the not-too-distant future?
Well, much would depend on how they actually develop the property, but given that most commercial uses would require municipal water and sewer, it's likely that they would have to petition for annexation to the city of Wichita in order to get those services.
Well, let me ask this question based on this map. Are they considered in this location actually adjoining the city of Wichita or abutting it, since there's that little parcel to the southwest and across 21st Street? Or is this actually considered separate and distinct and apart from any part of the city of Wichita? And if they petition to come in, it would be considered an island annexation?
No, I think with those two parcels that you're referring to just off to the southwest, I think that would be considered a touch point, and that this would not have to be an island annexation if they do choose to petition for annexation. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that did, and that was part of it. Let me clarify, just for the record, that area immediately to the south that's in green is developed. There's a number of actually medical, I think primarily medical buildings that are located there. Those were developed and are not part of the city of Wichita. Am I correct in that?
I believe you're correct.
Okay.
But what may have happened there was that there may be, on record when they did the plating for that, and I'm forgetting the terminology, but oftentimes in a situation like that, in order to not make it an island annexation, what the city will require in order to provide sewer and water service is that they submit a petition that when annexation does become possible, when adjoining parcels go into the city of Wichita, then they would annex into the city. They would not oppose annexation into the city.
Okay, because that other green parcel a little bit further to the east, it's right next to West Wichita, that came up before this commission. I remember when that happened, and that property's been developed. Frankly, I'm a little surprised that it actually hasn't gotten annexed into the city of Wichita at this point, but...
That one may be annexed.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from this map, but I can find out for you and get back to you. But that may be annexed because it is adjoining.
Well, I'm very much interested in that, and I appreciate Commissioner Skelton's question because obviously drainage issues, you've got both the creek that runs behind the Y, it's the red parcel on the western side of the slide, and also the Cowskin Creek that basically bisects the West Wichita part that's along 135th Street from the further east portion of, actually it's still northwest Wichita, that's on the east side of Cowskin Creek. And it's been interesting to see how people are trying to handle what they can or cannot work through in terms of developing those parcels in that area. But I plan to be supportive of this. And Mr. Chairman, I make the motion at this time. If there are no further, oh, wait a minute. Mr. Chairman, I would recommend, if I don't know if anyone's here who'd like to testify in front of us.
Commissioner, I will do that. Yeah.
I'd suggest that at this point.
I don't see any other commissioners asking to speak, and although this is not a public hearing, we typically allow citizens who might be affected by this zone change to speak or make a comment. Is anyone present who wants to make a comment? I don't see anyone moving to the podium, so commissioners, I think now is the appropriate time for a motion. Commissioner Peter John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will make a motion that we adopt the findings of the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission. We approve the zone change, limited commercial, and the creation of the Socorro West Commercial Community Unit Plan, DP 335. Authorize the chairman to sign the resolution and authorize the resolution to be published.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Commissioner Ransaw.
Aye.
Commissioner Skelton.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Chairman Unruh.
Aye. Thank you, John. Madam Clerk, before we call the next item, before we get into other new business, I'd like to take up an off-agenda item that commissioners are aware of, but we need a motion to do that.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we take an off-agenda item at this time.
Second.
Do we have a motion and a second? And this agenda item is in reference to funding for the Wichita Area Technical College. Commissioner Peterjohn?
Well, I appreciate having this opportunity to speak. I understand this is more of a procedural area, but I really feel more comfortable if we postpone this item and just we put it on a regular agenda at the following meeting. And so I'm not planning to be supportive of this motion this morning. I wanted to get that on the record. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there any other comment? Madam Clerk, call the vote, please.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
No.
Commissioner Ransaw.
No.
Commissioner Skelton.
A point of inquiry. Was this motion seconded? And could I get the motion restated, please?
Yes, Commissioner Skelton. Commissioner Skelton moved to take an off-agenda item, and Commissioner Norton seconded the motion.
I'll vote yes.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Chairman Unruh.
Aye. So we will deal with the off-agenda item, and Mr. Manager, did you want to present this to us?
I surely can do that. Commissioners, in the note that I sent to you regarding this item, in the budget discussions back in August and during a hearing and afterwards, this issue came to my attention. The issue before us is we had a reduction in our budget request, recommended budget to you for WATC of $150,000 reduction. In discussion with the Commissioner, Chair, and others, it was indicated that the desire that those commissioners wanted to increase the contribution to WATC by $50,000, thus implementing a $100,000 cut rather than $150,000. What this does, what this motion does today, is restore that $50,000 so that the total to WSU would be $793,000 grant in 2015 rather than $743,000.
All right, Commissioners, you've heard this issue. I think we're all familiar with it. It was the intention to have this included at budget time, and we're just making this kind of administrative correction at this time. I would make the motion that we adopt the resolution to restore $50,000 to WATC funding.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Commissioner Peterjohn.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we've brought up a whole bunch of supplemental budget issues since we approved the budget, and we've increased spending in a variety of areas. I frankly would feel much more comfortable if we postpone this issue until we could get it published in the paper and have at least whatever public attention that would generate provided, as opposed to taking another off-agenda item, and it's going to increase county spending. So I'm not comfortable with this motion today and in this current form, and I'd like to make a substitute motion that we postpone this item for a week and place it on the agenda for our meeting on next Wednesday.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Ranzau, did you want to speak? Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Manager, do we have any financial information on WATC that we could use to make a determination on this?
We received their audit. We know that the request for funding from Sedgwick County is based on their what they expect to spend, but that's the extent of the financial information.
Okay. Well, I'd like to have more financial information. It's my understanding that since the state has increased funding for vocational ed, they're doing very well, and their reserves increased significantly. And that's why, I was told the reason we could reduce this $150,000 is that they were doing so well. And so, I support what they're doing out there, but if they've got if they've had an influx of money from the state as a result of vocational ed legislation, then I think it's appropriate to adjust our spending, and I'm not prepared to increase it by $50,000 without more financial information, and that's why I support Commissioner Peterjohn's motion to postpone this a week so we can get some more information and make a more educated decision on this. There's really no reason to hurry through this, in my estimation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Peterjohn.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Commissioner Ranzau's comments, and I'd also like to have a copy of their most recent annual financial report to actually take a look and see what their cash balances are, look at their finances, and have a better understanding of where their financial situation overall is, because I've heard the same information, but it's been anecdotal and secondhand, and would like to see it documented. And if we had this opportunity to wait a week, I think staff could get that information for us, and we'd be much better able to make an informed decision, and we'd also have a week to have public input. So that's why I propose this motion and would urge my colleagues to support it.
Okay, my comment is simply that the information regarding the budget for next year was all available to us and known to us, especially regarding our budget at budget time, and on the last day as we approved the budget, there was a clear consensus, I thought, at least in my opinion, that we wanted to make the reduction in funding to WATC less than what had been recommended to us. Just a couple of years ago, the county was supporting WATC with a grant of $1 million. This would make that grant $793,000, which is a pretty significant cut in their funding. So I'm ready to go ahead and move on this and continue to support the college as best we can in their efforts to provide a trained workforce for the area. So the motion on the table now, I believe, is to defer, and I will not be supporting that motion. But we still have more discussion, so Commissioner Norton.
Well, I'm not going to be supportive of anything to defer. We had deliberations back last year, and we talked a lot about WATC and many other funding things. And as I remember, we had a good debate and deliberations. For me, this is just making sure that what we authorize as a budget is clearly defined. I think it was pretty clear if we went back that we wanted it to be a reduction of $100,000, not $150,000. And all this is an administrative change to actions we took last August. So I don't have a problem with moving forward. It's what I thought the budget was, so it's no change for me. It's just codifying it so that it's legal.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Peter John?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the dialogue. Mr. Chairman, since you're the representative of this commission on the Wichita Area Technical College and NCAT board, I was curious, do you have any information in terms of how the financial situation, when's the most recent quarterly financial report that you've received from that institution on that board, and do you have any idea how they're standing financially this year compared to last year? And also, I'd be interested in terms of updates, since obviously a lot of water has crossed over the dam since we've discussed the budget in August.
Commissioner, I don't have those numbers in my head, but the Finance Committee at WATC gets monthly reports about the financial health and performance of the college. It is correctly stated that the college received significant benefit from Senate Bill 155 as we began to train high school students at the college. And the college is on much firmer ground than we were a few years ago through good financial management and expansion of programs at WATC. So they are not, I would not say that they are in a crisis situation, but I say that their budget is designed to provide for a $100,000 reduction in the grant from Sedgwick County, and the budget, on the basis of our budget discussion that we had when we approved the budget last August, it was clearly indicated in discussion from the bench to the manager's proposal of the budget that be $100,000, and that's what their budget numbers are based on.
Well, I appreciate the dialogue on this, Mr. Chairman. I would just hesitate to go forward at this time with the off-agenda proposal that originally is before us. Obviously not my motion that's right in front of us right at the moment. But I think it's important that, we had a request back in November to hold off for a couple of weeks, and that was voted down 3-2. I thought it was a mistake at that time, and I think we're about to go forward and make another mistake in this regard. Of course, this will have a $50,000. That vote in November on the building codes didn't have any real financial price tag that was directly visible. This has a $50,000 price tag, and in light of the various spending increases that we've taken up off budget since we did our budget hearing in August, I can understand some might view it as just a housekeeping matter, but things have changed, and I would really like to have the opportunity to take a look at the most recent annual financial report from the college, to really take a look and see how they are doing financially, and if they may arguably even be in better financial shape than we are, and this money is not necessarily needed. We don't have figures in terms of the cash balances and in terms of what their budget looks like. I don't think it's appropriate to take this up as an off-budget item at the last minute, and I don't see any pressing reason why we can't hold off for a week. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be supporting this motion, and this will obviously influence my vote when I suspect my motion that's in front of us fails.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ranzau.
Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Manager, in addition to this money, we also pay for the mortgage that's out there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What? I'm thinking $800,000, but is that, or is it more than that? Is that?
I'll have to get back to you on that. I apologize.
It's a substantial amount.
Well, yes.
Right.
I
All right.
think we'll get the number. I don't
So
know.
total, we're giving about $1.5 million
Oh, easy.
easily, maybe more than that. Okay. All right. I just want to get that on the record. Thank you, Mr. Manager. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Skelton?
Manager, when was the commission first advised of this off-agenda item?
Friday or Monday?
Okay. Well, I'm comfortable moving forward because I think there's been plenty of time to research this since Monday.
All right, I don't see anyone else asking to speak. The motion before us is a substitute motion to defer. Madam Clerk, will you call the vote, please?
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye.
Commissioner Ransow?
Aye.
Commissioner Skelton?
No.
Commissioner Norton?
No.
Chairman Unruh.
No. Now we have the underlying motion still before us that would change the reduction in funding to WATC to where we will be having a total allocation of $793,000 to the Wichita Area Technical College. I see no further discussion, so Madam Clerk, call the vote, please.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
No.
Commissioner Ransow?
No.
Commissioner Skelton?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Chairman Unruh.
Aye. All right, thank you. We're ready now to return to our regular agenda, and Madam Clerk, call the next item.
New business. Item B, County Extension Quarterly Report.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Teresa Hatfield, and I'm a Family and Consumer Science Agent at the Sedgwick County Extension Office. And I'm here today to share one of my programs that I manage as the Adult Development and Aging Agent there. I manage the SHICK program, which stands for Senior Health Insurance Counseling for Kansas. And we actually have programs like this all over the country. And here in Kansas, we call it SHICK. And what it is a program that we help Medicare beneficiaries learn about their Medicare options. We are heavily relied upon. We rely on our volunteers to do a lot of our work. We have 51 volunteers at the Extension Office. They're all trained by the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services, and they help provide unbiased information to Medicare beneficiaries so that they can understand their options and make an intelligent decision on whether they want to go like with a Medicare supplemental plan, a Medicare Advantage plan, or which prescription drug plan to go with. We're one of the largest SHICK programs in the state, and we started doing this back in 1991, so we've been doing this for a while. We do counseling year-round, not just during open enrollment. Like I said, we do help Medicare beneficiaries that are aging into Medicare with their options. We can also help if they have questions about Medicare appeal. They have a question on their Medicare summary notice. We can kind of walk them through the steps they need to get that taken care of. We also offer Medicare options training throughout the year, different classes that we do. We try to do those kind of on a monthly basis, and I usually have about 40 to 50 people in each one of those classes. I've also done presentation to some of our local employers, like Wichita State University and Wichita and USD 259. But one of our biggest times of the year is Medicare open enrollment, and that occurs every year between October 15th and December 7th. And during this time of year, our Medicare beneficiaries can opt to change out of their prescription drug plan. They can change their Medicare Advantage plan. And the benefit to doing that is to looking at that every year is our insurance companies can change their premiums every year, their deductibles. They can change their copays when they go to the pharmacy, and they can even change the list of medications that they cover. So we do recommend that everybody look at that. If they don't come into our office, you know, you can look at that online as well. But last year we were, during open enrollment, we saw over 2,800 people in our office. And we were able to save our beneficiaries $2.2 million. So that was a pretty good success rate that we had. I want to tell you about a couple of success stories that we had that were really big ones. One Medicare beneficiary saved over $48,000 alone. And that is because this beneficiary was going to be no longer able to go to the pharmacy they wanted to go to, which was ComCare. So they were a low-income beneficiary, and if they hadn't changed their plan, they would have had to go to either a different pharmacy where they wouldn't have got the services that they needed. So we changed her plan, and her plan went from $48,000 to about $150,000 a year. Big difference. So that was one of our big successes. Another one that we had was one of my volunteers saved one Medicare beneficiary $262,000. And we were all kind of like in shock when we heard that one, because that's a big amount for one person. This Medicare beneficiary had multiple sclerosis, and those medications cost a lot of money, and the plan that she was on dropped her medications. So my volunteer was able to switch her to a plan that was able to save her that money. So she was very grateful for that. There are a lot of people out there that don't know how to do this, and so we are here to help walk them through. We do classes on how they can do it online as well. But those are just a couple of examples on how we saved some big bucks for some people this year. And it wouldn't be possible without my volunteers. And I did bring along two volunteers today back here, Gus Wesche and Donna Wolf. And both of these guys worked a lot of hours. Gus worked every day during open enrollment for 8 hours every day. And he didn't have to do that. So we appreciate Gus doing what he did. And Donna worked pretty much about the same. She worked half days about every day of the week, and also helped me with some outreach events that we had in the community. We did some things on the east side at some locations that hosted us. We also went into Butler County as well. So we had a very successful year with the SHICK program, and like I said, I'm just grateful for our volunteers, and thank you guys for letting me come and present this today.
Well, Teresa, thank you for updating us on your activities. And thanks to your volunteers for all the work that they invest in helping our citizens. As I recall, you don't charge for that service.
No, it's a free service. And sometimes people are so inundated with junk mail and things that you just don't know what to do. I have people that bring in bags, grocery bags full of junk mail, because you're just so inundated with insurance companies sending you stuff, you just can't wade through it. And that's the nice thing about the SHICK program, is we can spend an hour with them talking about their options so that they have a clear, they have a plan when they leave. They know kind of what they want to do. They know which direction they want to do. And it's good because we can't tell them what to do, but we help give them the tools to figure out where they want to go.
Well, I know it's very complicated, not just on supplemental insurance, but your prescription coverages. And
right.
It overwhelms you with the intricacy of it. So
yeah,
appreciate you providing that service. And at your enrollment time, I'm sure all the other commissioners also get numerous phone calls and emails saying that they appreciate what you all provide for
them.
Good. So, we have another comment now from Commissioner Peter John.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I second your comments and very much appreciate you speaking today. Now, if someone wants to get a hold of you all, can they get a hold of you online, or is there a phone number would work best? Or
yes, you can call the extension office at 660-0100. You can also visit our website. That's www.sedgwick.ksu.edu, so there's information on there as well. Online, I also have some booklets and some things on walking through the Medicare maze, so if you don't want to take a class, you can get online. There's a tutorial on there on how to use the plan finder with Medicare, so you can learn about that step by step that way too.
Well, I'd like to thank both the volunteers who are here in particular for their efforts in this regard, but because I'm part of that boomer generation, and I've heard news reports that literally thousands of us who are turning 65 every day. I'm fortunate in that I haven't reached 65 yet, but for folks, at what point I've been told that if you turn 65 and you haven't signed up for Medicare, you're possibly subject to some sort of a penalty or fine. Is that correct?
It's correct. It depends on your situation. People who are working for an employer with 20 or more employees can still continue to keep their employer insurance, and they won't face that penalty. But if you're not, you do need to consider going on to Medicare. And you've got a window to do that, a 7-month window. So some people want to come in a year in advance and check out their options, and we're quite willing to talk with you about that so that you know how much it's going to cost down the road. But we can actually help you out if it's the month before. So,
well, let me make sure, and please clarify this for the record. So if somebody's 64 years old and 5 months, they can come in and get signed up? Is that what
you can't get signed up, but you can come in and talk to a counselor so that you can kind of start thinking about what your options are going to be.
Okay. What is the sign-up period?
The sign-up period is 3 months before your 65th birthday, the month of your 65th birthday, and then the 3 months after.
Well, the question I'd come up with is most married folks, one spouse is a little older or a little young, you know, their ages are off a little bit. Does that play into this at all in terms of
it does a little bit, especially if the spouse is on the other spouse's employer insurance, so that could make a difference in what decision they make.
Okay. Well, Sedgwick County Aging Department, I know, is involved in doing this. The Social Security office at the Fed end is involved in doing this.
Social Security actually refers to us.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I work with the Department on Aging. I actually worked for the county a few years ago, so I'm very familiar with the folks over there, and we work together to team up on different things. For example, we did a walk-in day in November where no appointments necessary. Some of the folks from Aging came over and they helped out, and we just took as many people as we could get in the door as possible. Unfortunately, it was a kind of a bad weather day. We got over 100 people in that day, though, so we did really good.
Well, let me ask you, how many people came through your office who were getting helped with these services last year?
Last year it was over 5,000. It was around 5,500. So just during open enrollment, though, we saw a huge bulk. So we saw 2,800 just during open enrollment during an 8-week period. So that's when I have most of my volunteers working. We've got computers all around Extension set up, so they go in all different directions, and we just try to get as many people in as possible.
Well, I appreciate getting this information out, particularly since both the broadcast and eventually the streaming video of this meeting will be on the public record, and folks can follow up, especially those who are apparently we're somewhere between 63 and 65.
Yeah, and we're getting busier because we've got, like you said, we've got that boomer generation starting to age into Medicare, and we're getting busier and busier every day. You can ask these two back here. They work for me all year round, and we keep them busy.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Once again, let me appreciate my thanks to the volunteers who are out there, whether they're helping at Extension or anywhere else here in Sedgwick County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I'll make a motion that we receive and file.
Second.
Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye.
Commissioner Ransall?
Aye.
Commissioner Skelton?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Chairman Unruh.
Aye. Next item, please.
Item C, report of the Board of Bids and Contracts, regular meeting on December 22, 2014.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Joe Thomas, Purchasing Director. The meeting of the Board of Bids and Contracts of December 22nd results in two items that we'd like to present to you this morning. Item number one is the inmate clothing, linens, and toiletries for the Department of Corrections. The recommendation is to accept the overall low bid from Bob Barker Company, Incorporated, for those items numbered 1 through 45 and items 48 through 122, and to accept the bid from Goodwill Industries of Kansas, Incorporated, for items numbers 46 and 47. And we're going to establish contract pricing for these items as listed for 3 years with 2 one-year options to renew. And the final item is the design services for 271 West 3rd Street, or formerly the IRS building, for Facilities Department. The recommendation is to accept the proposal from Schaefer, Johnson, Cox Fry Architecture for a not-to-exceed amount of $329,772. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have and recommend approval of both items.
Joe, we do have a couple of questions. First, I think Commissioner Ransall.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I was going to make a motion that we take the recommendation on item number 1.
Second.
Okay, and thank you, Commissioner. Is that all?
Yes.
Okay, and Commissioner Peterjohn? That's all you had? Okay. We have a motion to approve item number 1 of the recommendation of the Board of Bids and Contracts. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, after we conclude this vote, we intend to take up items 2 and 3?
We can.
Yes, sir. Okay. So I will support this motion.
Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau?
Aye.
Commissioner Skelton?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Chairman Unruh.
Aye. Commissioner Skelton.
Mr. Chairman, I move we take staff's recommended action on the remainder of the consent agenda items.
There's none on the consent agenda.
Or bid board, excuse me. Thank you. Pardon me. Correct.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the remainder of the bid and recommendations from the Board of Bids and Contracts. And we have comment first, I believe, from Commissioner Ranzau.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I want to make a substitute motion that we table this item till further notice to give the new board that will come into effect next week time to reevaluate the entire IRS building, which I think is going to happen anyway. And so I think this may affect this, may modify what we want done, what we don't want done, and I think it's premature to do this without the full commission in place that's going to be responsible for moving forward with this project.
Second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion to defer. Is there anything else, Commissioner Peterjohn?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I want just a housekeeping matter because my backup, I've only got the 2 items on the bid board.
That's correct.
Commissioner Skelton, did you say 3?
No,
There's just a second item. Okay, well, I wanted to,
The
if there was a third item, I wanted to find out about it because it wasn't in my documentation. I'm obviously going to be supporting the deferral on this motion. I have a concern that, I mean, we're talking about, and I guess I'll ask this question to Mr. Thomas. This $329,772 expenditure, this is in addition to this is not included in the previous amounts that this commission's approved for this project. Am I correct on that point?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, we've just added, if this is approved, and I suspect it will be, but hopefully I'll be pleasantly surprised, but if I'm not, I understand how things go. This is a 6.6% increase against the sale price on this project. I'd really like to see this put out for bid, and I'd like the new commission to take it up. I agree completely with Commissioner Ranzau's comments, and so I will not be supporting this motion today in its current form, and would frankly like to. I think I will do it. I will make a substitute motion that we defer.
We have a substitute motion to defer.
Refer for a week. I'm sorry.
And you seconded it.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure it didn't. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have the motion to defer in front of us, and it seems like this might be a rehash of a long discussion we had about acquiring the building in the first place a couple of months ago. I know that all the partners involved in this initiative are eagerly anticipating being able to move into this new facility, which includes the Metropolitan Area Building and Codes Division, and includes the Sedgwick County Treasurer, who's in charge of the tag office. It includes the appraiser. All those folks need a facility. This is downtown in the government footprint. We've had all these discussions and arguments, and in order to move ahead with the project, I think that we need to approve this. This cost, although it's a certain percentage of the purchase price, it's something that was anticipated that we would have to spend architectural fees, and it's part of the entire cost of moving into the building, so it's not a surprise that we would have architectural fees. And this is just the next step in moving forward with this initiative. So I think we should move forward, so I won't support the substitute motion and will support the recommendation of the Board of Bids and Contracts. Commissioner Peterjohn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, were other architect firms allowed to bid on this project, or was this a sole? Our backup information only mentions one company here.
This was taken as the only the option because of the professional services that we are allowed in Charter 65, which they have done previous work, and they were very familiar with the footprint of the building and work that was done, and so we felt it was in the best interest to continue using Schaefer Johnson.
I appreciate getting that on the record. This is another example, in my opinion, where I think, the previous item that we approved unanimously, we had a variety of companies. There were at least 4 companies who were involved in providing bids on that item, and I think the county benefits from it. In this case, where we basically sole sourced it, and that's perfectly legal, but I don't think we're doing the services of the taxpayer. We're helping the taxpayer when we've got a sole source. So I will be supporting the substitute motion, but I do think this is something that we ought to look at, and my votes today will reflect that fact. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I see no one else asking to speak, and we have a motion to defer, a substitute motion to defer, and so, Madam Clerk, please call the vote on that item.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Commissioner Ransaw.
Aye.
Commissioner Skelton.
No.
Commissioner Norton.
No.
Chairman Unruh.
No. We have now a motion on the table, an underlying motion, do we not, Madam Clerk, that is to approve item 2, or, as we phrased it, the remainder of the recommendations. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
No.
Commissioner Ransaw.
No.
Commissioner Skelton.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Chairman Unruh.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, sir.
Next item, please.
Consent agenda.
Commissioners, you have the consent agenda before you, and I'd recommend you approve it.
Mr. Chairman, I move we take the staff's recommended action on all consent agenda items.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Commissioner Ransaw.
Aye.
Commissioner Skelton.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Chairman Unruh.
Aye. Well, Commissioners, we are at the end of our agenda. We don't have an executive session or a fire district meeting, and so we are at other. And I think I would like to start off other by making some comments to our departing commissioner. Jim, I just wanted to say that we've appreciated all the public leadership that you've shown during your years of public service. You had 5.5 years at the City Council and 4 years, or 6 years, and 4 years with the Sedgwick County Commission. And so you've clearly indicated your willingness and desire to serve the public. Along with that, you also were president of your East Mount Vernon Neighborhood Association.
Yes, sir.
You also served in the United States military, serving in the Army.
Yes, sir.
And so you've always had a passion to serve folks and to assure that they had access to public services. And you've been an outspoken and very vocal voice for your constituents. So I particularly want to applaud you for your efforts to promote public safety, specifically in the areas of fire protection, both at the City Council and the County Commission. And I know that you've been a strong supporter of McConnell Air Force Base and all of southeast Sedgwick County and the city of Derby and all your constituents down there. You worked hard to assist the Oaklawn community as they recovered from the tornado, and tried to assist those citizens also in supporting tax relief for those who were particularly impacted by that tornado. So in general, you've encouraged engagement with your citizens. You had a district advisory board at the City Council, and you initiated that program here at Sedgwick County, and so you stayed involved with your citizens, and I think that's very, very commendable. So we know that you and Stacy will be entering a different chapter in your life.
Indeed.
We want to wish you all the best in your next endeavors, and say that we've really appreciated your service as a county commissioner. And we have a nice little clock that we want to award you, and a nice Waterford piece. Now, this comes off, so be careful. But anyway, we wanted to award this to you and say thank you.
Sure.
It comes off.
And congratulations.
Hey, this thing's heavy, man. It didn't break. It takes a licking and keeps on kicking. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, Commissioners, we have other commissioners that want to speak, but do you want to say anything first? I'll give you that.
I'll wait to defer because I might want to say something back.
Commissioner Renzo.
Well, I have a couple things. First, I want to clarify back on the debt service that we talked about for NCAD and WATC. It's actually $3.2 million, but we get $800,000 from NIR rent. Right. So we're putting it in 2.4 plus another 800,000, so about 3.2 the taxpayers are. So whether we cut them 100 or 150, we're still contributing a significant portion and supporting their efforts out there. I just wanted to correct those numbers. And I wanted to say thanks, Jim. It's been good working with you. Good luck in the future. And, save some deer for the rest of us.
You bet, sir. And I've appreciated your dynamic personality. Thank you, Richard.
Commissioner Renzo. Commissioner Peterjohn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, January 7th is a momentous day in many ways, and we're talking about the momentous side of it here, Jim. But I couldn't resist, as sort of going away, in terms of a few cautionary tales. One's cautionary, the other one isn't. 225 years ago today, the first presidential election was actually held and electors were selected that resulted in the election of George Washington. So January 7th will be important for you, Jim, going forward in a variety of ways. Now, the cautionary side is on January 7th, 1999, this U.S. Senate impeachment trial of Bill Clinton actually began. So January 7th is an important day in American history, and now that we can add the last county commission, Sedgwick County Commission meeting in your current term, Jim, it's been a pleasure. We've often agreed to disagree, but you've never been disagreeable in the process, and while we haven't always, I haven't been as persuasive enough as I should have been to get you to vote with me more often. At least we've had some fun up here, and I'm going to miss some of those stories that you've shared with us over the last 4 years, and I really appreciate your service here in Sedgwick County and want to wish you the best in whatever direction you and Stacy go going forward.
Well, thank you, Carl. I wish you as well. Good luck. The first time I met you, you were officed over at Park Lane. I came in there and sat down and visited with you, so I've known you for quite some time, and I never imagined I'd end up serving with you on a county commission at that time, and that was probably 15 years ago.
You mean in the last century?
Well, I think it was, yeah, indeed. So thank you very much, sir.
All right, Commissioner Norton.
Jim, our friendship preceded colleagueship, and our friendship will postcede colleagueship. I wish you health, happiness, love for the rest of your life, and happy hunting.
Well, the happy hunting grounds are before me. Thank you very much, sir. Okay.
Commissioner Skill.
Well, I just wanted to let the public know it's been an honor and privilege to serve. This job is not about yourself. It's about all other people. I also want to recognize and compliment the bravery of all the personnel stationed at McConnell Air Force Base. They are every day there guarding our flag. And it just so happens I can look out my back window and see the flight line. And I like that because I like to watch the airplanes fly around at night behind my house. I'd like to thank my family, especially my wife Stacy, for tolerating me during my term of service. I'd like to recognize my grandparents, Hugh and Evelyn Hendrickson. Hugh Hendrickson, my grandfather, is a veteran of World War II. His father was a veteran of World War I. And as was stated earlier, I'm proud to continue the military heritage of our family by my service in the military. And now I am serving the public in a different capacity. It's my last day. So I recognize the temporary aspect of this job as an elected official. George Washington also did. So my actions are consistent with that philosophy. I'm not going to disappear. I'm going to serve the community in many other ways. You have not heard the last of me. Freedom requires responsible and active citizens, and I continue to be, and I want to continue to be one of those members of society. I'd like to thank county staff and the electeds, all of you that I've served with. I will miss you, many of you professionally as well as personally. Thank you very much.
Well, Commissioners, we are at the end of our meeting, and so with no other business, we will be adjourned.
Don't drop it.